Over the past couple of weeks, we have been going through an important topic that has well been overdue and needed to be covered. In this ministry, I try to cover a wide range of topics in regards to the world that we live in. We live in a world of deception, so we cannot ignore these many things going on in the world. But just as important as it is to come out of the lies and deception, it is more important to speak about the truth and what truly matters. I am far from done with the Hijackers and Understanding Israel series, but as this world continues to move against us, it is extremely important that we grow in our understanding of Yahuah and build more faith and trust in Him. The scriptures are our true source of power in this world. When Yahusha was in the wilderness and tempted by Satan, he didn't use some magical power or sorcery like they show in the movies. He didn't use that stupid thrust move like they used in the last Matrix movie. No, he used the scriptures against Satan. This is how we fight against our enemy, which is exactly why it has been promoted to us to not read this book and apply it. We must know and read the scriptures. And so I have been covering this topic because I think it is very important for everyone. Those new to the faith that desire to grow more, but also those more mature in the faith as well. We all need to grow in our understanding of Yahuah and His Word. And so I have been led to continue discussing this topic because, like I said in the first part, though we cannot find a majority of believers to speak against reading the scriptures, this activity is still not widely done, and therefore there is a lack of knowledge and understanding when it comes to Yahuah. And in the last two parts, we covered many books that need to be read. What we are about to discuss right now are books that I can say that a majority of the Christian church does not and have not read. These books are not read for understanding, but they're picked and combed through to pick out some scriptures that point to what they already want to know. The books of the prophets are extremely important. In the first part of this series, we spoke about the Torah, the 5 books of Moses that gave us a foundational understanding to Yah and the culture and ways of Yasharel. In the last part, we went over the exciting parts of the scripture that gave us a historic understanding of the chosen people of Yahuah. Highly important information if we want to understand this faith that we all claim to believe in. But now, we must talk about the major prophets. Let me be clear, these books are extremely important because it is an understanding of everything that we claim belief in. For example, we claim belief in Messiah, but for many of us, we know little about what was prophesied about him. When Messiah walked this earth before he was crucified, the people of Yahudah had an expectation of him to restore the kingdom of Yasharel back to the greatness it once had under David. They didn't just make this expectation up. This wasn't something that they rationalized in their heads. This was something that was promised to them by the prophets. I did a series about this specifically if you don't fully understand what I'm saying here. Watch this series later. My point is that they knew what the prophets prophesied, and they were waiting for the fulfillment of it. But today, the majority of people have expectations of our Messiah. They have expectations of what should happen in the end times, but most have never read these prophecies for themselves in order to truly understand what it is they're expecting. There is a true disconnect between understanding Yah's true will versus understanding what religion and churchianity has taught. Like, how many people in Christianity talk about the rapture? But if they actually read the prophecies from the major prophets, it would be easier to understand that some of these things we have been taught in mainstream Christianity is not based upon the word. How many verses from the Old Testament do people use to reference the rapture? If that doctrine was true, it would be prophesied of in the Old Testament through the prophets. Many of these prophecies that are mentioned in the New Testament are just echoes from the prophecies in the Old Testament. So many people live in deception because the books from these major prophets are not being read. For instance, it's exactly how people can believe that the prophecy has been fulfilled about Israel returning back to their land. It's because they only heard about these prophecies. They haven't actually read about them themselves, because if they did, it would be so clear that what the actual prophecies say will happen have not happened yet. I can go on and on with examples. The mainstream church lives in deception because they are not going to the scriptures to understand what Yahuah has prophesied and what he has done and plans to do. These books are extremely important, and if you have not read them, you are lacking in your understanding of Yah's will. There's so many in this world that live in the book of Revelation and what it says, but they still don't truly have a grasp on true end-time prophecy because there is way more prophesied by the prophets. People talk all day about Mystery Babylon, and many love to say it's the Roman Catholic Church, but that's only because they have not read about the prophecies about Mystery Babylon in Isaiah and Jeremiah. You cannot think that you understand what is coming to this world if you have not truly studied what the prophets have said. Yahuah poured into these prophets in order for Yasharel to know what was coming. What is in these books have not all been fulfilled, and the problem in churchianity is that people ignore the prophets because they think that because Yahusha came, these prophecies have already been fulfilled. They think that everything just points to Messiah, and though Messiah has a very big role to play in all of this, what is written in these books have not all come to pass, but we are waiting for it with righteous anticipation. In the scriptures, we are called to be about our Father's will. Yahusha said, "Not everyone who says to me, Adonai, Adonai, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven." That's Matthew chapter 7, verse 21. How can we do the will of our Father in heaven if we don't even know what it is? How can we prepare for him if we don't know what we are preparing for? How can we say we are ready for the end times when we don't even know what is prophesied to come? There are going to be a lot of people that will be really caught off guard and not ready for Yah when the time comes because these books have not been read. It is my sincere desire to encourage all who desire to serve Yah and be ready for his kingdom to go back and read these books. Learn what the prophets have prophesied. So as we continue to discuss what is in the Bible, we are going to talk about the books of the prophets. Let's begin. The book of Isaiah. When speaking of the major prophets, we have to start with Isaiah. This man, Isaiah, was a man with a mission and purpose. Yahuah showed him a glimpse of his glorious throne and placed a call on his life to speak his words to Yasharel. He was given much to say, and much of what he was given to say made him extremely unpopular. His words were of confrontation, exhortation, and warning. He was sent to warn Yasharel of their wickedness and what was to come if they did not turn from it. And because his warnings were not what the people wanted to hear, he dealt with opposition. The thing is that even when he faced the opposition, he continued to stand up for the truth. Yahuah called him to warn the people, and he answered the call. This book contains much warnings and judgments, but it also records Isaiah's words of promise and hope. He prophesied much about our Messiah. He prophesied that one day a Messiah would come who would save, comfort, and bless his people. And he prophesied that Yahuah would one day restore Yasharel. This book is a major book that deals with many prophecies of our Messiah. And unfortunately, how people treat this book is that they just jump around to the prophecies that they already heard of, and then they skip over the rest. They know verses like, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty Elohim, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end, upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice from that time forward, even forever. The zeal of Yahuah of hosts will perform this." That's Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 and 7. They know verses like, "There shall come forth a rod from the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots." Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. These verses are widely known throughout Christianity. For the most part, this is what is taken from the book of Isaiah. But there is so much more to understand. Isaiah, who, if we really truly want to understand him as a Hebrew, we should use his Hebrew name of Yeshayahu. This is his true Hebrew name. Today we use Isaiah because it's westernized, but we won't go that far. This prophet delivered Yah's message to the people of Yahudah. He served as an advisor during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah between the years 740 and 700 BC. In this book, you will read Isaiah deliver Yah's message of condemnation to the Israelites. He declared judgment from Yah because Yahuah was against their immoral and idolatrous lifestyles. You see, in that last video, as we went over those historic books, you should now understand that these prophets were there during those time periods of history. and they were giving warnings of what was to come if Yasharel did not repent. You have to read all of this in order to come to better understanding of Yah's will. He prophesied of many things, warnings as well as hope. He prophesied against nations. He prophesied about our Messiah. He prophesied about the day of Yahuah, which we call today the day of the Lord. He prophesied about his coming kingdom, and also about the restoration of Yasharel. There is so much in this book of Isaiah that I cannot just do a fast summary like I did with the other books. We need to know what's in this book. So we're going to review what is in some of these chapters. Listen to what these chapters speak to. For time's sake, I obviously will not go over every chapter, but I think it's important that we all know what's in this book. Chapter 1 speaks about the wickedness of Judah. Alas, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a brood of evildoers, children who are corrupters. They have forsaken Yahuah. They have provoked to anger the Holy One of Yasharel. They have turned away backward. That's Isaiah chapter 1, verse 4. You see, the sins of Yahudah did not go unnoticed, and this first chapter speaks of it directly. Chapter 2 speaks about Yahuah's coming kingdom. Now it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of Yahuah's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all the nations shall flow to it. Many people shall come and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahuah, to the house of the Elohim of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of Yahuah from Jerusalem. He shall judge between the nations, and rebuke many people. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. Isaiah chapter 2, verses 2 through 4. You want to know about what's coming and what awaits us? You should read it for yourself in these books. So many of us talk about the day of Yahuah, or the day of the Lord, but much of what people know only comes from what was read in the New Testament about it. Read about it in Isaiah and from the other prophets. Chapter 3 deals with judgment on Judah and Jerusalem. For behold, Adonai, Yahuah of hosts, takes away from Jerusalem and from Yahudah the stock and the store, the whole supply of bread and the whole supply of water, the mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet, and the diviner and the elder, the captain of 50 and the honorable man, the counselor and the skillful artisan, and the expert enchanter. I will give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them. The people will be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The child will be insolent toward the elder, and the base toward the honorable. Isaiah chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. You see, you cannot understand the scriptures if you do not understand what was prophesied to happen to the tribes of Yasharel. Now, as you read, all of this may not be extremely clear to you in the beginning. Some of these things may confuse you, but that should not deter you from reading it. You just need to start and let Yah guide you through it. Let's keep going. Chapter 4 deals with the renewal of Zion. In that day, the branch of Yahuah shall be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and appealing for those of Yasharel who have escaped. And it shall come to pass that he who is left in Zion and remains in Jerusalem will be called holy, everyone who is recorded among the living in Jerusalem. When Yahuah has washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion and purged the blood of Jerusalem from her midst, by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning, then Yahuah will create above every dwelling place of Mount Zion and above her assemblies a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night. For over all the glory there will be a covering, and there will be a tabernacle for shade in the daytime from the heat, for a place of refuge, and for a shelter from storm and rain. Isaiah chapter 4, verses 2 through 6. This is just more about the promises that are coming. This has not been fulfilled yet. Yahuah promises restoration and covering, and so this is what we should be expecting, and we need to understand this. Let's keep going. Chapter 7 goes into prophecy of Messiah. Therefore, Yahuah himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Curds and honey he shall eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. That's Isaiah chapter 7, verses 14 and 15. Chapter 9 speaks on Messiah's coming government. I read some of this earlier. If you want to understand our Messiah, you should also read what was exactly prophesied of him. Chapter 10 covers prophecy about the returning remnant of Yasharel. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Yasharel and such have escaped of the house of Jacob will never again depend on him who defeated them, but will depend upon Yahuah, the Holy One of Yasharel, in truth. The remnant will return, the remnant of Jacob, to the mighty Elohim. For though your people, O Yasharel, be as the sand of the sea, a remnant of them will return. The destruction decreed shall overflow with righteousness. For Yahuah Elohim of hosts will make a determined end in the midst of all the land. That's Isaiah chapter 10, verses 20 through 23. This has not happened yet. This is all about our future and what we are waiting for. But this is not the mainstream thought because, like I have repeatedly said, these scriptures are ignored. He said the remnant of Yasharel will return. Note, not just the tribe of Judah, as the mainstream wants you to believe this prophecy has already been fulfilled. Not even close, actually not at all. A remnant of Jacob means the 12 tribes, the 12 sons of Jacob. So this is what we should be looking for. Isaiah chapter 14 is a very important chapter. First thing discussed in this book is the mercy Yahuah will have on Jacob, which is Yasharel. For Yahuah will have mercy on Jacob and will still choose Yasharel and settle them in their own land. The strangers will be joined with them and they will cling to the house of Jacob. Then people will take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Yasharel will possess them for servants and maids in the land of Yahuah. They will take them captive, whose captives they were, and rule over their oppressors. Isaiah chapter 14, verses 1 and 2. This is prophecy that has not been fulfilled yet. If we read these scriptures, our worldview and our expectation of what Yahuah will do in these last days will be much more different than what mainstream Christianity teaches. Everyone is so focused on the rapture and leaving here, but not focused on being a part of these wonderful promises Yahuah has made. We must understand what he has said and prepare ourselves for it. This chapter also deals with the understanding of our enemy. We understand what it is that our enemy desires. It says, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning! How you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations! For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Elohim. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation, on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." That's Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 through 14. You see, most people don't understand the conflict we face in this world because they don't understand these scriptures. They don't put it in their main view of understanding this world, and it is highly important that this understanding is applied, because from this we understand what Satan wants and what his end game is. Let's keep going. In other chapters, Yahuah has made proclamations against many nations, like Babylon being destroyed, Assyria destroyed, Philistia destroyed. He made proclamations against Moab, Ethiopia, Syria, Egypt, Edom, Arabia, and Jerusalem. It's all in there. You should read all these things. This will help you understand the current world you live in. If you don't fully understand the power of the Most High, it's because you're not reading of what he has proclaimed. Chapter 24, he speaks on the impending judgment on the earth. Behold, Yahuah makes the earth empty and makes it waste, distorts its surface and scatters abroad its inhabitants. The earth is also defiled under its inhabitants, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore the curse has devoured the earth, and those who dwell in it are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men are left. It shall come to pass in that day that Yahuah will punish on high the hosts of exalted ones, and on the earth the kings of the earth. They will be gathered together, as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and will be shut up in the prison. For many days they will be punished. The moon will be disgraced and the sun ashamed. For Yahuah of hosts will reign on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem and before his elders gloriously. That's Isaiah chapter 24, verses 1, also 5 and 6, and 21 through 23. You see, Yahuah is not playing. His word will not come back void. The ignorant, they can ignore these prophecies from our Creator all they want, but this will only be to their detriment. For the people who think the Bible is a tool of control, why would the people who control this world write this and speak in such anger about this, and then keep you from knowing and understanding it? If it was used for control, wouldn't they be using this to control you with fear? Instead, they do as much as possible to keep you from even reading this. If the Bible is just a tool of control and has been played with, why do they let these proclamations stay in it? Let's continue. I don't want to get off track. Chapter 27 goes into the subject of the end times that is widely ignored and misapplied. It deals with the restoration of Yasharel. Please make note of this topic because everything that I discuss in regards to the end times has to do with this subject. But if you can understand just how much mainstream Christianity ignores all these prophecies because they believe it has already been fulfilled, you can understand just how far people are from Yahuah. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahuah will thresh from the channel of the river to the brook of Egypt, and you will be gathered one by one, O you children of Yasharel. So it shall be in that day. The great trumpet will be blown. They will come who are about to perish in the land of Assyria, and they who are outcasts in the land of Egypt, and shall worship Yahuah in the holy mount at Jerusalem. That's Isaiah chapter 27, verses 12 to 13. He will gather Yasharel. This is something we want to see and be a part of, but you need to read it for yourself so you can understand it, and that's why you have to go to these books. Chapter 34 discusses Yah's judgment on the nations. It's important prophecies to understand when understanding what is to come to this world. Come near, you nations, to hear, and heed, you people. Let the earth hear and all that is in it, the world and all things that come forth from it. For the indignation of Yahuah is against all nations, and his fury against all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has given them over to the slaughter. Also their slain shall be thrown out. Their stench shall rise from their corpses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Indeed, it shall come down on Edom and on the people of my curse for judgment. For it is the day of Yahuah's vengeance, the year of recompense for the cause of Zion. That's Isaiah chapter 34, verses 1 through 3, verse 5, and verse 8. What he says in these chapters should be understood. It cannot be ignored. Yah has promised judgment on these nations, and if you are just ignorant to this and you don't really understand what is to come, you will be caught off guard. And the worst part is the enemy will twist things and use these judgments of Yah to make you go against Yah. So if you are ignorant to these things, you can be used by the enemy because you do not know what you are to be expecting to happen in this world. In chapter 43, we see more of Yahuah's promise to restore Yasharel. And this is an extremely important topic because as this happens in the last days, and what happens in the last days, we will see many provocations that have to do with race. And if you do not understand what Yahuah is doing, you will only see this through racial lenses. You will not understand that this is all Bible prophecy. You must understand what Yahuah has prophesied. But now, thus says Yahuah, who created you, O Jacob, and he who formed you, O Yasharel. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. And when you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flame scorch you. For I am Yahuah your Elohim, the Holy One of Yasharel, your Savior. I gave Egypt for your ransom, Ethiopia and Seba in your place. Since you were precious in my sight, you have been honored, and I have loved you. Therefore I will give men for you, and people for your life. Fear not, for I am with you. I will bring your descendants from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not keep them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Isaiah chapter 43, verses 1 through 6. Do you see what he is saying here? Yasharel is scattered, and he plans to bring us back from the east, west, north, and south. We are scattered all around the world. It is important to understand this topic. But unfortunately, because people are not reading these books, they know very little about these prophecies. But if you read these things, you can have a better expectation of what is to come and what Yahuah has prophesied. You need to stay in biblical reality and not in mainstream religion. Let's keep going. Isaiah chapter 47 speaks on Mystery Babylon. Sit in silence and go into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no longer be called the lady of the kingdoms. I was angry with my people. I have profaned my inheritance and given them into your hand. You showed them no mercy. On the elderly, you laid your yoke very heavily, and you said, I shall be a lady forever, so that you did not take these things to heart, nor remember the latter end of them. Therefore, hear this now, you who are given to pleasures, who dwell securely, who say in your heart, I am, and there is no one else besides me. I shall not sit as a widow, nor shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to you in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon you in their fullness, because of the multitude of your sorceries, for the great abundance of your enchantments. For you have trusted in your wickedness, you have said, no one sees me. Your wisdom and your knowledge have warped you, and you have said in your heart, I am, and there is no one else besides me. Therefore evil shall come upon you. You shall not know from where it rises, and trouble shall fall upon you. You will not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon you suddenly, which you shall not know. That's Isaiah chapter 47, verses 5 through 11. You see, you have to understand Bible prophecy. These judgments and proclamations are so important. It says she will no longer be called the lady of the kingdoms. He was angry with his people, and he gave them into her hand, and she showed them no mercy. I know many people want to say, well, no, this is talking about Old Babylon. You have to read through these. The Old Babylon was not called the Lady of the Kingdoms. What is the main symbol of the most powerful country in the world? If you notice, the same judgment prophesied to Mystery Babylon in Revelation 18 is the same judgment pronounced in this chapter too. You must read with discernment. Chapter 49 shows how Messiah will be a light to the Gentiles. This is important to understand both for Yasharel and also the Gentiles who are being grafted into Yasharel. It says, and now Yahuah says, who formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob back to him, so that Yasharel is gathered to him. For I shall be glorious in the eyes of Yahuah, and my Elohim shall be my strength. Indeed, he says, it is too small a thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved ones of Yasharel. I will also give you as a light to the Gentiles, that you should be my salvation to the ends of the earth. Thus says Yahuah, the Redeemer of Yasharel, their Holy One, to him whom man despises, to him whom the nation abhors, to the servant of rulers. Kings shall see and arise, princes also shall worship, because of Yahuah who is faithful, the Holy One of Yasharel, and he has chosen you. That's Isaiah chapter 49, verses 5 through 7. You see, the thing is that so many people say and understand that Yahusha is a light to the Gentiles. And hallelujah, yes, he is. But the thing is that many people do not understand why he is, because they don't clearly know these prophecies. You must read them for yourself. Chapter 56 speaks about salvation being granted to the Gentiles. Thus says Yahuah, keep justice and do righteousness. For my salvation is about to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man who does this, and the son of man who lays hold on it, who keeps from defiling the Sabbath, and keeps his hand from doing any evil. Do not let the son of the foreigner who has joined himself to Yahuah speak, saying, Yahuah has utterly separated me from his people. Nor let the eunuch say, here I am, a dry tree. But thus says Yahuah, to the eunuchs who keep my Sabbath, and choose what pleases me, and hold fast my covenant, even to them I will give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than that of sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also the sons of the foreigners who join themselves to Yahuah, to serve him, and to love the name of Yahuah, to be his servants, everyone who keeps from defiling the Sabbath and holds fast my covenant, even then I will bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. The burnt offerings and the sacrifices will be accepted on my altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations, Yahuah Elohim, who gathers the outcasts of Yasharel, says, "Yet I will gather to him others besides those who are gathered to him." That's Isaiah chapter 56, verses 1 through 8. You see, these scriptures are so different from the doctrine found in mainstream Christianity. But this is the word of Yahuah, and this is what we should be following, not mainstream religion. Can you see the difference between what is actually in the word and what is taught in the mainstream churches? He speaks about foreigners joining themselves to him, not defiling his Sabbaths, not defiling the covenant. And we know this was only made possible through Yahusha and the renewed covenant. But unfortunately, the majority today teach the doctrine of defiling the Sabbath and not keeping the covenant, and they feel that they can do whatever they want. It's because, like I repeatedly said, they're not reading these scriptures. There's such a strong disconnect in Christianity today because people are not reading the scriptures. And this is why I'm making these videos. If you read his word, it teaches something completely different from what people know. That is why the reading of his word is so important. We must read. Let's keep going. Chapter 66 is the last chapter of this prophetic book. He ends it with speaking of Yahuah's reign. "For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall be that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. I will set a sign among them, and those among them who escape I will send to the nations, to Tarshish and Pul and Lud, who draw the bow, and Tubal and Javan, to the coastlands afar off, who have not heard my fame nor seen my glory. And they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. Then they shall bring all your brethren for an offering to Yahuah out of all nations, on horses and in chariots and in litters, on mules and on camels, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, says Yahuah. As the children of Yasharel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yahuah, and I will also take some of them for priests and Levites, says Yahuah. For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, says Yahuah, so shall your descendants and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, all flesh shall come to worship before me, says Yahuah, and they shall go forth and look upon the corpses of the men who have transgressed against me. For their worm does not die, and their fire is not quenched. They shall all be an abhorrence to all flesh. That's Isaiah chapter 66, verses 18 through 24. And that is the last of the book. He ends it with speaking about the coming reign of Yahuah. If you love Yah and you long for his kingdom, you must understand what he has proclaimed about it. You must understand his will and what he desires to do and what he will do. You cannot go through your life proclaiming a love for Yahuah and not understand what he has proclaimed, what he has said will come. If you are tying yourself to being in his kingdom, you should learn about it. You must understand it. You cannot just sit here and say, I love him, but I don't need to know anything else. Ignorance will not serve you well. You must humble yourself and go back to the scriptures and read. There is so much in this book, and I know I missed a lot, but for time's sake, I just want to make sure that I went over these key points that should entice you, yourself, to go back and read and study his word. If you see just a portion of scriptures I've reviewed in this video and how it differs from mainstream, you can understand why it is so important to read the word for ourselves and make it our foundation away from man and mainstream religion. So many people are lost waiting for mainstream Christianity doctrines from books like Left Behind to happen. They're waiting on all that to happen, and they don't have a clue what Yahuah has actually prophesied and what he has actually said will happen. We must read his word and his prophecies. Only you and Yahuah know if you have read through these prophecies and made them the basis of understanding our future. This is Bible prophecy, and we must understand it. The crazy thing is that this is just one book of prophecy. When I started this video, for some reason I thought I was going to be able to speak about these books in the same way that I did with the other books. But I do realize that I'm going to have to break these up and discuss these books separately. I know people are looking for juicier topics. People love to hear about the lies and conspiracies more than they love hearing about the truth. If you see what is happening in this world right now, then you should understand that there is nothing more important than reading Yahuah's word. So Yahuah has led me to help those that desire to come to him. We will discuss more books of the prophets as we continue on with this series. We have to. These prophecies are extremely important and have everything to do with the times that we're currently in. My plea to you is that you take the time and start reading the scriptures. If you are watching these videos and you're seeing stuff that you have never heard or realized was in the Bible, you should make the effort to go and read it for yourself. Learn about Yahuah and what he prophesies about our future. And once you understand it, prepare yourself for him by believing in and accepting his son whom he sent, repenting from your sins, and then following his laws and commands being about his will. Yahuah is calling all of us towards him, preparing us for his day. Make sure you are making yourself ready for him and read the word like your life depends on it. Because it does. Be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please don't forget to like and share this video with others. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I upload every Friday. Don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. If you no longer see this channel on this platform, please look for my videos on my website, truthunedited.com. Thank you for watching. I'm thankful for all of you. Thank you especially to those Yahuah has placed it on your hearts to give, and you have done so. Thank you for your assistance in helping carry out this ministry every week. Thank you for your blessings and your prayers. They truly support this ministry. You have no idea. Thank you for your obedience to Yahuah's call on your heart. Be blessed. Okay. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I love you all.